Hello, and welcome to I Do in the Caribbean Facebook group. I'm Sandra. I'm the admin for this group. I'm also a destination wedding planner, a travel agent. So I help couples actually plan their destination wedding in the Caribbean or Mexico. So if there's anyone in this group who's looking for someone to help them start with the planning process, to help them actually plan their wedding from the beginning to the end, I'm available. I'm also available in this group if you have any specific questions on planning your destination wedding, because planning a destination wedding, as I said, in a foreign location, it's a bit overwhelming and challenging, stressful to say the least, because you're doing something in a foreign location that you've never been, or you've been but you're planning it and you're not in the same location. So just starting to plan one, knowing where to start, what to expect, is a big challenge for a lot of couples looking to do that destination wedding, but don't have all the information that they need to plan a destination wedding. So what I wanted to go over is just the process itself, just understanding different things that you need to do, or how the process kind of runs if you're doing a destination wedding. And if you're thinking about one, what are things you need to think about so you can plan that destination wedding that you've always dreamed of. I mean, reasons why people plan a destination wedding is because they want to have a wedding in a tropical location. Obviously, they want to be on the beach. They want to spend quality time with friends and family. Because for a destination wedding, it's going to be over a couple of days, 2 to 3 days. So most people are coming in for 3 days, and they're going to be spending the weekend with you. So it's a celebration of that special event in your life. So you want to make sure you do it right and understand what that process is. So let me get into that. So obviously from the beginning, you said yes. If you're doing an elopement, it's 20 years and you want to redo your wedding vows. So you want to plan that destination wedding. So from the beginning, you said yes, I want to get married, and you want to get to that happily ever after, which is just married. How do you get to that? Or you get from the beginning to the end? That's the question we're going to answer today. So the first thing I would say for anyone having a destination wedding is you really need to set a realistic budget. And what I mean by that is you need to have a number in your head that this is the amount that I can spend, or this is the amount that's allocated to certain things. So for a regular wedding, these are things you would think about. The wedding budget. What does that entail? It's the cost of the ceremony, the reception, your wedding attire, your video and photography, your jewelry, your flowers, your beauty and spa, gifts, invitation. Those are some of the common items that you would spend if you're having a wedding. But if you're having a destination wedding, other things come into play, like the accommodation. What is it going to cost you to go to that location and stay for 5 to 7 days? Are you going to be including a honeymoon along with your wedding? A lot of couples, they book 7+ nights, 3 weddings dedicated to, 3 or 4 days dedicated to the wedding itself, and the other couple of days, dedicated to just spending time together and having that honeymoon after the wedding. So that is something you have to take into consideration in your budget. Also, transportation. Now you're having a wedding in a foreign location. You have to pay for air. You have to pay for transfer to and from the hotel. Those are items that are big ticket items that have to be included in your budget. When you think about accommodations also, are you just going to be booking just your room? Are you going to be paying for your family room, your mom's room, your sister's room, your kids' room? Those add up. And if you don't include them in your budget, that could derail your budget also. Entertainment. And what I mean by entertainment, not just like a DJ, but entertainment. Are you going to have a welcome event? Are you going to have a tour, a group activity that you're going to have to pay for? So these are all items that need to go into that budget before you even start planning to see, is it realistic for me to have that destination wedding? So to me, you really either need to separate your budget into, this is the amount for the actual wedding when I'm on resort. This is the amount for my accommodations, transportation. This is the amount for my wedding attire. So you can have buckets, but you should have an overall idea of what it's going to cost you to have that destination wedding that you've always dreamed of. So then the next thing I would say, after you come up with a budget, whether it's 10,000, 15,000, whatever your budget is, 5,000, hopefully it's more than 5,000, because accommodation alone could be $2,000, $3,000. So after you come up with a budget, so the process is you come up with a budget, then now you're going to pick a destination. why do you, the question in my head is always, why do you want a destination wedding? Is because you want to be married on a beach, you want to be in a foreign location, you want to be, there must be a reason why you want a destination wedding and why you want to go to a specific destination. Is it because it's someplace you've been before, you enjoy, someplace you've seen and always wanted to have a wedding there? So these are things in your head you have to decide. All right, I'm having a destination wedding. Where do I want to have my wedding? Because that's a very important question to answer for you to get further along in the process. What are the requirements if I'm getting married in that country? Am I having a legal wedding or a symbolic wedding? Because a legal wedding comes with different criteria and different expenses if you're having a legal wedding. Especially if you're getting married in Mexico, it costs you at least a good $1,200 more to your budget if you're doing a legal wedding, because you have to do a blood test if you're going to get married in Mexico. Also, you got to be at the resort 3 to 4 days before your wedding if you're doing a legal wedding. So that can also add to your budget because you have to be on resort longer if you're having a legal wedding. What are you looking for in that destination? A lot of people are looking, the most popular destination I would say would be Jamaica, Mexico, DR. And the reason why those are popular because there's lots of resorts to choose from. It's easy to get to those destinations. There's a lot of nonstop flight going to there, and there's the resort price can be cheaper. So it could be cheaper to have weddings in those 3 locations because it's popular and it's an easy destination to get to. But if you're looking for something exotic or a little bit more luxury, you could think of St. Lucia. You can think of other Caribbean islands, Grenada. So it's really a matter of budget and a matter of really what you're looking for in picking that destination. And you have to pick that destination based on a lot of criteria. When are you planning to get married? Are you planning to get married during the winter months, during the spring months, during the summer months? Because each destination comes with a different price tag. If you're doing it during the summer, I know I went to Jamaica during the summer and the prices for airline were double the amount as it was if I had done it off season. So, picking the destination and picking that date will definitely determine the cost for your wedding and will have an impact on your budget. So definitely you want to make sure that when you pick a destination, it's something that speaks to you. It's something that you always fantasize about. It's something that you wanted to do, and that's the destination you want. And those are reasons why you want to, have a destination wedding, because you want to go someplace that you've never been before, or you want to have that beach wedding. You want to have that family get together. So just think of those. But when picking a destination, you really have to think about where that destination is, from where you're coming from, or where most of your guests are coming from, the cost of going there, whether it's going to be during off season, is it going to be hurricane season during that time? Because a lot of people haven't thought about it, but Aruba is a great place to have a wedding. The weather's good 365 days of the year because they hardly ever get any kind of hurricane. So those are, that's a good choice. But is it the choice for you? Because Aruba now might not have all the things you're looking for. And a lot of people like Jamaica because of the culture, because of the music, the food. It's different from other Caribbean islands. So there's different reasons why you would pick a destination, but you really have to pick a destination and move forward to the next process. So the next process is, after you pick that destination, the next thing you're going to do is pick your resort. Now, picking a destination is great, but now you have to pick the resort. What is it that's appealing to you in that resort? What are you looking for in that resort? Are you looking for some place that is luxury? Are you looking for some place that's budget friendly? Are you looking for a resort that's family friendly also? Are you bringing kids to? Are there going to be children attending your wedding? What is the cost of the wedding package for that particular resort? What's the cost of the room? Like, how much can I expect my guests to pay comfortably to attend your wedding? Most times a 3-night stay, a good mediocre, a medium range resort is between $1,200 and $1,500, either $400 a night or $500 a night. So it's something you got to think about. If you choose a resort, how many people can actually afford to come to your wedding? Is this the right resort for you? How far is this resort from the airport? Does it fit the vision you're looking for? A lot of people are looking for that over the water chapel. There's only few resorts, I'm going to just use Jamaica as an example, that have the over the water chapel. Sandals have the over the water chapel, but where the over the water chapels are located are all adult only resort. They only have the Sandals resort, so you can't have kids. There is exception. Like if you tell them you're going to have 2 or 3 kids attending your wedding, they can make exception for your kids to come on property and attend the wedding. They can come an hour before the wedding, and as soon as the wedding is finished, they can leave. But there's exception in which they allow you to bring kids to the resort, although it's an adult only resort for a wedding. So that's something to think about. As I said, this, you have to look at all these things when you're picking the resort, making sure it's fitting your vision, the cost, the wedding package it covers, or it's affordable, the rooms affordable. Also the big question is, do you want an all-inclusive resort, or do you just want a regular hotel? That's going to determine costs for you and also costs for your guests. So if it's an all-inclusive, you want all your guests to be on property, because the more people that attend your wedding and stay on property, the more benefits a couple should have. If you're having it off property, then it doesn't matter what hotel the guests stay at, because it doesn't really, you're just doing it at a venue. So that's something to think about. Are you doing it at an all-inclusive, or are you going to do it at a regular hotel or venue, and people can just stay anywhere they want, whether it's an Airbnb or just a regular hotel? That can also, determine if people can attend or not, because that could make it cheaper. So that's definitely something to think about when you're planning your wedding. Exactly what type of resort you want to have your wedding, if you want to have it at a resort, and what the pricing is for the rooms, for the room package, how far it is from the airport. Is this a viable place for you to have that wedding? So number one, we have a budget. Number two, we pick a destination. Number three, we pick the resort. And once we pick that resort, the next thing we're going to do is make sure your wedding date and time is available. A lot of people, they find a resort, and when they do a little bit more research, the wedding date they're looking for is gone. So, when I'm helping couples find the perfect resort, once they've picked the destination, the first thing I do is reach out to the resort to make sure the date and the time that you're looking for is available, because you could end up wasting your time when you think that, oh, I like this resort, but when you finally go to, secure it, your date's not available. So that's one thing I would definitely tell you to do, is make sure when you're looking at resort, make sure find out first before you do any more digging that your date and time is available. Once you, as I said, once you find that resort, that's the one you want, the date's available, you're going to secure your wedding date. That means you're going to pay that deposit down for your wedding. Most resort are asking between $250 and $500 to pay down on your wedding to secure your wedding date and time. And that's also, at that point, you would pick a wedding package depending on what package they offer. You can pick it now or you can pick it later, but the deposit is to really secure your wedding date and time. So after you find a resort, you're going to secure your wedding date and time by putting a deposit down. And then you're gonna start. Most resort, once you put a deposit on, depending on when this is, depending on when you're getting married, you don't really start the detailed wedding planning until 4 to 6 months before the wedding date. So a lot of people, if they're getting married next July, they, secure their wedding date, and now it's September, and they think they're gonna start planning for their wedding. But no, the wedding planning really doesn't start till 4 to 6 months before the wedding. That's when the wedding coordinator on the resort will contact you and start doing the detailed wedding planning for your wedding day. The other thing is that they will always send you all the information on the wedding packages and all the extra. So most wedding packages that I've seen, they're very, I would say, basic, meaning that they're gonna cover the ceremony, the cocktail, and the reception. Some of them will be private, or some of them will be semi-private. And private means that you're going to have a private space for your guests to have your event. Semi-private sometimes mean that if you don't have enough people, or depending on the package you get, it's going to be, your reception will be like a dinner in a restaurant, in a separate part of the restaurant. So when it's semi-private, you have to think about that. It's not private. That means you probably won't be able to have entertainment like, dancing and music, because it's going to be in a semi-private location. So it's not just a location for you. So please be careful when you're looking at reception and it says semi-private. Make sure you understand what that means, because that means you really can't do any decoration, because it's not it's not a private location, and you can't have entertainment there. So just be careful with that. So I said, you secured your wedding date, you secured, you paid the room package, so you're kind of like all set. I mean, now it's time for you to, send out your save your dates to your guests. So people sometimes jump the guns and start sending out save the dates, but I would not send out any save the dates to any of my guests until I secured my wedding date and time, have a deposit down, and have a confirmation that it's done. Because at least that way, you know that your wedding is set. depending on when you're in this process. I'm not going to give timelines because everyone will be in a different timeline depending on when you start planning for your wedding. But I would say you need to send your save the dates out 8 to 9 months out before your wedding date, only because it's a destination wedding. People need time to save to pay for the wedding. People need time if they're getting passport, which I always suggest. Please go out there, and if you're thinking of going to a wedding or having a wedding, please tell your guests to get their passport as soon as possible, because it's taking a long time for passport to get issued and you might not make it to the wedding. So I would say send out save the dates or invitation, if you're doing that, to your wedding guests at least 8 to 9 months out. If you're having a large wedding, I would suggest that you either secure a group contract, so you have rooms secured for your guests at a fixed price. So when the guests are ready to book, that the room would be available for them, and you wouldn't have issues that they wouldn't have any rooms available. And also, I would say create a wedding website, because you want a wedding website so you can put all the information for the date of your wedding, any kind of events you're having, any kind of information you want the guests to know about, travel restrictions, how to get to the resort, that sort of thing. You want to keep everyone on the same page, and creating a wedding web page will just have a link or a page that guests can come on and get information on the wedding. So this is something I would say once you send to save the date out, is just to make sure that people are informed as to what's going on and when, like if you're booking rooms, when payments are due and those things. So these things you really want to let your guests know. So I would say start the wedding planning process. So now that we have got the destination, we got the resort, we secured our wedding package and date, we send out our e-invite or invitation to all our guests, telling them that we're having this wedding. We're going to start actually doing the wedding planning process, which is the actual wedding details, with the wedding planners at the resort that you have selected to have your wedding. And this, I said, is between 4 to 6 months out. You're going to start finalizing the details of your wedding, but it won't be finalized yet. It'll be finalized around 45 to 60 days before your wedding, because you really need a guest count in order to finalize that. So, these are stuff you're going to finalize, like your welcome event, if you're having any, you're going to be going through your ceremony, what you want at a ceremony, if you want decor, if you want runners, if you want tiebacks. So all the details to make that wedding your own or to make your event special, all those things will be discussed. You are going to discuss that with the wedding planners at the resort, and they're going to finalize the details for your wedding. As I said, between 45 days out, you need to have a guest list. And you need that guest list because that's the head count for your wedding. So all the guests that are RSVP'd, you want to make sure that they're all booked and they're all coming to your wedding, and you get a final head count so you can pay for your wedding. I would always suggest to any of my clients who's planning a wedding is never pay everything in full before you get to resort. Things happen, people don't show up, and you're going to pay for people who are not there, and they're not going to give you a refund. And most resort, you can pay 50% or even up to 90%, and you can pay the balance once you get to the resort. So never pay everything in full if you don't have to, because you want to make sure you can make some adjustment when you get to a resort and not have to pay for people who are not coming or are not going to show up. So for most resort, I would say the final payment for rooms, if you're booking a rooms through a group contract or for the wedding, is due 45 to 60 days before the wedding. So this is something you need to know, like 45 to 60 days out, that's when all the final payment is due, and all the guest list would have been finalized by then. And that would be the next process in this. So now that we finalize the wedding, 45 to 60 days before, now it's time to pack for your wedding. So I would say 1 to 2 months, you start like putting a to-do list together. Like, these are all the items I need to pack for my wedding, because really that's going to keep you on track. Not having a list. I live by a list. I put a list down every day of things that I have to do, and just check off your list to make sure that all your wedding attire, you have all the things you need for that. If you're doing gift bag, you've purchased all the stuff you need for your gift bag. You've packed them, they're already in a suitcase. I would check in with the resort again or with the wedding group to make sure there's nothing that's missing, nothing that you need to change or do. I would say check in with your guests one last time. Normally, if I'm doing the wedding planning for my couple, I will be sending out emails constantly to the guests to let them know what to expect. And 1 week out, just letting them know that, they've gotten their travel documents. If they have any emergency, this is the number to call, anything like that. Just letting them know what's going to happen when they get to resort, what to expect. So as I would say, check in with the guests to make sure all the guests that have RSVP, said they're coming to the wedding, are still there. If you haven't booked your flight, I would say book your flights, within the 1 to 2 months. Some people look and book their flights earlier because it could be cheaper. But by that time, your flight should be booked. All the information should have been sent to your travel professional so they can monitor your flight and arrange your transfer. And that would be your next step. So step number 8 is arrive at the resort for your wedding. Now that you've done everything, you've gotten on the plane, you got to the resort. Once you get to the resort, most resort are going to require to be there 2 to 3 days before your wedding. And the reason for that is because when you arrive the first day, you're really not going to meet with them. You're probably going to meet with them the next day because they want you to do a walkthrough. They want you to you're going to meet with them in their office. They're going to walk through all the things you discussed with them, the details of your wedding, of what you wanted. You're going to confirm that this is what we agreed on. This is what you're going to get. Also, they're going to walk you through the actual location of where your ceremony is going to be, your cocktail, your reception, so you can visualize what it's going to look like. If there's any last minute change that needs to be made, you're doing that. You're going to prepare for your welcome event. If you're going to have a welcome cocktail for your guests, you're going to be preparing for that. I mean, they're going to prepare for that, but you're going to prepare for it yourself to make sure that if you have any welcome bag, whether you're going to be distributing them yourself to your guests or you're going to have the resort do that for you. Most times they charge a fee. I would say if you're having a welcome event, just bring those gifts back to the welcome event and give them out to your guests, and it wouldn't cost you anything. So then you're going to prepare for your wedding. Most times, if you have spa treatments, you would have arranged your spa treatments before you get to the resort. So if you're doing hair and makeup, they'll do a test drive or test run the day before. So they'll do your makeup and hair to make sure on the day of your wedding, this is how you're going to want it. You're in agreement with it. So it's not a surprise on the day off that you have something that you haven't prepared for. And then, day of your wedding, you're just going to, get ready and get married. And hopefully that will be your happily ever after. So that is really what the wedding process is all about. Also, before your wedding, most couples will either do it. They'll have the welcome events, welcome cocktail before the wedding itself, and after the wedding, they might do a group tour or a farewell activity like a farewell brunch or something. So these are activities that you would plan ahead and have the wedding group organize these activities for you. You'd have paid for them, and that so your guests can enjoy the resort and enjoy spending time with you afterwards. So, planning a wedding, as I said, it's very overwhelming, very stressful. Sometimes you feel like you want to tear your hair out because you don't know, what you're doing, number one, if you're doing it correctly, and you just don't know where to begin. So, as I said before, depending on where you are in your wedding planning process, if you just decide to have a wedding, you're going to have one in 6 months, that can be done too. So most times, the wedding planning process starts between 6 to 12 months out. So you're 6 to 12 months out, you've decided you want to have a wedding, you have selected hopefully a destination, then you select a resort, you secure your wedding with a deposit. If you're going to do a room contract, you secure your room contract. Then you send out save the dates to your guests, and make sure when you send these out to your guests, you're giving them the exact resort or exact, a link if they're going to be booking through a specific travel agency. You're making sure that, you're sending them the exact information for the resort, because they, if you say Dreams Resort, it could be any Dreams Resort. So you want to make sure you give them the exact name of the resort, where it is, what country it is, what airport, if that's something they need, what airport they're going to be flying into. You want to make sure you give them as much detail as possible, because you want them to be booking the wrong place and not showing up for your information. So I would say give the guests the right information, but give it to them at the right time. Don't give them too early, because you want them to start booking, as you said, I'm going to have a destination wedding at this resort. And before you even plan anything, they already booked their rooms. Because if you have a group contract, you definitely want them to book in the group contract. You don't want them to book outside of the group. So you need to let them know that all room reservations need to be booked through this person. So they all book through that group contract. So any benefits you get from having that contract, you can see the benefits, because if they book with anyone they want, you're not going to get that benefit. And making sure that you understand what the detailed wedding process is, and what you have to do to make sure that you follow that process. And I said, with anything, if you are working with a resort, they're going to communicate to you, they're going to send you the wedding packages, they're going to send you all the extras that you need, so you can make a decision and start planning for your wedding. So the wedding process, it might be overwhelming and stressful, but I think if you can get to picking that destination and picking your resort, the process can be less stressful. The other stress that normally couples see is with your guests. Their guests asking a lot of questions, the guests calling them constantly, so it can be stressful when your guests keep calling you. And so that's why sometimes having a destination wedding planner, advisor helps, because that alleviates your stress, and it's on us to help your guests plan their accommodation, plan their travel, so they don't have to come to you, or any questions they have in regards to the resort, in regards to the wedding, you can answer that, and be the buffer, so the couple can actually just worry about just planning the details of their wedding and not worrying about all their guests. So that's really all I have for you in destination wedding process. If you have any specific information about the process, what to do, I'll be more than happy to talk to you about that. Just shoot me a DM, and I'll be definitely answer any questions you have. If you need help planning your destination wedding, please reach out to me, because I plan destination weddings, or help couple plan their destination wedding in the Caribbean or Mexico. So if you're looking for someone who can help you plan your wedding, please send me a message. I'll be more than happy to reach out to you. For now, goodbye. Have a good day.